Hello everybody, my name is Walter and today I want to show you how you can build my simple 11 block high and infinitely expandable wall block shifter and wall block swapper, both for Java Edition. In case you're looking for a showcase or world download, you can find both linked in the description. But let's get started. So both are modular designs, with each module being a 1 wide and 11 high part of the wall that gets shifted around. And subsequently the total size is the number of modules plus 1 in width, 16 blocks in height, and 7 blocks in width, including the wall. If you want to build these, you're going to need the following resources. So if you just want the shifter, you're going to need, of course, some building blocks, then 2 slabs, 6 redstone dust, 3 redstone torches, 5 repeaters, a single comparator, 15 observers, a copper pipe, it doesn't have to be waxed, 2 normal pistons, and then a button as the input. Additionally, if you want to upgrade that to a swapper, you're going to need 3 slabs, a target block, 4 redstone dust, 3 repeaters, another comparator, 7 observers, a node block, and a second copper bulb. And then for every module, so for every 1 by 11 part of the wall you want to swap out, you're going to need 7 repeaters, 13 observers, 4 pistons, 15 sticky pistons, and 2 node blocks, plus whatever blocks you want to shift around or swap out. And yeah, with that said, it's time to show you how to build the shifter and the swapper. Now for this tutorial, I'm going to start by building the shifter and then later on upgrade it into a swapper. That way, if something goes wrong, you won't have to rebuild as much. Now with that said, the first step is building 2 modules, since the first module deviates a bit from all of the other ones. And the first step for that is marking the 2 wide and 11 high part of the wall we want to shift around or swap out. And then with a 1 wide gap, place sticky pistons right behind that part of the wall as well. Once we have that, go to the bottom pistons and then 3 to the back. And that is where we need to place then our 2 observers powering downwards. And in this example here, I will have my control circuitry on the right side. So I need an observer looking to the right and going to the left and running into a 1-tick repeater. Then below that, we need 2 normal blocks, then node blocks. Then to the front, we need a 2x2 of observers running into node blocks, and then more observers. And then finally, we have normal pistons facing upwards right below the gap here. Then at the back, place 2 sticky pistons and then 2 normal pistons. Now, it's time for the powering of those pistons here. For that, we start with 2 observers right next to this piston observer and repeater pair, with observers branching off in the direction of those sticky pistons here. And then on top of these here, I have again an observer and a repeater, and then 2 observers looking at it. And now I more or less repeat this pattern every other block. So we have observer, repeater, and then 2 observers going to the pistons all the way to the very top here. Just like this here. Then at the very top, we add 1 more observer repeater pair. Then on top of those observers running into full blocks, then we have a 2x2 of sticky pistons. Now at the top, add the 2 observers running downwards, and then below them sticky pistons. Now on the other side, above this gap, go 1 up, and that is where we have normal pistons going towards the back, with normal pistons facing downwards in front of them. Then we have 2 observers on top of those, and then branching off towards the back this time, another 2 observers. And that is all of the mechanics done. We will add the blocks that are looping around in a moment, but for now it's time for the control circuitry for the shifter. Now for that, we're going to start with our input, which is the copper bulb. And as I said, the control circuitry will be on the right side. So I'm going to place it on the right of the sticky piston here, right in the middle of the swappable part. This will be our input. So I'm going to place the button for the moment right on this side of it. Then next up, we need a diagonally placed upside down slab so we can take an output with a comparator. which runs into a full block. Then we have a lowered full block down there with some wire and a torch at the front. Then we need an observer looking at that from below, running into a full block. Then diagonally another upside down slab with some wire on top. Then down here we have two diagonally placed blocks with wire again. Then a normal piston here, and then we go up with blocks all the way until we hit the last observer here. And at that point, we place an opposing normal piston facing down with a 1 high gap. Now, let's go down here again. We need first of all a block there with a 40 repeater in front of this observer. And depending on how it goes, you may have to reposition those two normal pistons at the bottom there. Now, let's continue further up with a torch on top of this block on top, torch on top, then an observer on top with some wire. Then on the other side, we have again a block here and another 40 repeater like this here. And depending on how it goes, you may have to reposition the pistons and potentially also the observers. Now, place 3 observers going up like this here, and then 1 going to the front. In the opposite direction, we have 2 running into this normal piston there. Then on top of those, we have 2 tick repeaters running into full block. Then another full block here with some wire. And then we have a lowered block here with a 1 tick repeater running into the observer. And if we now press the button here, should see this kind of sequence. So this here goes up, then we have something going on at the bottom and the top, and then it shifts down again. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. So the next step is adding the blocks that are looping around, as you will see in a second. And voila. So as you can see, we have the blocks in the wall behind the sticky pistons and then above this gap here and below this gap over there. So a quick insert here. I noticed a positional piston bug where this wire here first powers the sticky piston before this piston here actually moves the block out of the way. So I would recommend replacing the full block here with a transparent block, like for example a slab. And if we now were to press the button here, you can see the shifting action happening as intended. That is exactly how we want this to work. And yeah, at this point, you can finish the build if you just want the shifter. So just add the missing parts of the front wall here. And you could, for example, move the button to the front here. And then maybe connect it with some wire. Although, in this case, to avoid this flickering action, you may want to actually use a repeater instead. Or maybe even a torch. So. And yeah, the next step would be just adding more modules. Or modifying it into the swapper. Although, if you want to do that, I would recommend to first build at least the first 5 modules, since the swapper will actually interface a little bit in this area here with the modules. I had to squeeze parts of the circuitry around the corner basically to not go beyond the footprint of the shifter. So independent of what you want to do, the next step is building more modules. And here we go. I have decided to build 12 modules in total, and with that, the shifter is now done. And I would really recommend adding, as I told you in the insert there, a transparent block down here, because this here worked in the original position, but the moment I moved it around, it broke down, at least for the first module. So with that, the shift is done. Now it's time for the swapper, and you can already see I've changed up the colors a bit. So we have 2 full sets for the wall and 1 intermediary block on each end. And that is where we're going to make the first adjustment. In the first module, we're going to replace that block on each end with an observer, which basically tells the control circuitry when to stop with the swapping. Then let's start at the top. We are going to remove the repeater with its block. Then this block here needs to be replaced with a upside down slab. And then below that, we place a node block. Then we have two observers looking at that from the back, and this one here needs to be rotated around, so it looks at the node block in effect. Then replace the repeater again. Now down here, let's for the moment remove this wire. Then the torch block and torch. Then we need a target block in this place with a torch on top. Then we can replace this block again. Now let's go to the bottom. Here we can actually replace this with a full block again and move that transparent block up to this spot here. Then further down, remove those two blocks, the observer and its block. Then this block here with its connected parts. And then we can also remove all of this here. And then finally move the copper pipe 2 blocks to the back. Now place a block in front of it. Then we have an upside down slab. So we can once again take an output with a comparator, which runs into another full block. Then full block below. Then diagonally down an upside down slab. Then up. Put down 2 wire. And then a redstone torch here. Then we have an observer looking at it from below. At the top, we just need an upside down slab, full block, and then the wire like this here. And now we need to go around the corner and modify, for the most part, the 3rd and 5th module. For that, we are going to start actually in the first one with an observer looking at our transparent block, running into full block, and then a copper pipe, a second one, behind that block. Then this here should be the 3rd module. We need to remove this repeater with the block, and the same in the module below, and the same for the 5th one. Then replace these two and these two repeaters here with observers, although we will have to wait for a second with the top one, because for now we need to get in here. So let me just quickly get in there. So we need a 4-tick repeater in the 4th module here, running towards our control circuitry. Then a full block here, another 4-tick repeater running into that one. And over here we have a 3-tick repeater running towards the back with a full block in this corner there. Now the repeater at the back is completely hidden basically. And we can finally replace those 2 repeaters here with observers. So now those lines here should be in place again, and all of the displaced blocks at the front should also, if you've built this correctly, be in the correct position once again. Then we need a full block here with a comparator and subtract mode running into a full block. Then we have a lower block here with some wire on top. Then another lower block here with again some wire. Then 2 lower blocks and a raised block. Wire on top of this block. And then 2 1-tick repeaters. And our input, so let me quickly grab button, now is this piston down here. So I'm just going to put the button on the block next to that. And if we press that button, we should start to see this swapping action here happening, and at the correct point also stopping. As you can see here. And yeah, with that, the block swapper is also done, which means we've reached the end of this tutorial for my infinite expandable 11 block high wall block shifter and block swapper. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. I wish you a nice day, and well,